Hey, Jim.
John?
How we all doing?
Morning. Good.
Sorry
How
I'm
you doing?
late. Afternoon, I guess.
You know, Paul cannot be here.
Yep.
Jim is here.
Yep.
And Chris Harkness told me he could not be here, nor could Adrian, his alternate.
Oh.
So
Yeah,
probably
probably
was
was
to have
fine.
fun. Yeah. The gang's all here.
You have agendas.
Yeah, I have to bring one this time.
Mr. Rennick will not be here as well.
Mark, would you like an agenda?
I've got one printed, thank you.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
I've just got the first page.
Yeah, it's a basic outline.
Yeah,
We go into a little more detail, but that'll be covered in the meeting.
Yeah, no, that's fine, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Chair, give me just a moment. Okay, you ready to begin?
Good afternoon. Going to call this Etna, the Joint Economic Development JEDZ1 meeting to order. This is November the 19th, 2021. It's approximately 1:06 or 7.
So,
1:07. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Carlisle?
Here.
Mr. Hagee? Here. Ms. Engel?
Here.
Mr. Motter? Here. And Mr. Duffy? Here. Present. So the excused would be Mr. Rogers and Mr. Harkness also asked to be excused for today.
We have a quorum. Mr. Albers is here representing the Albers Law Firm. Mr. Rennick will not be here. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the August 27th, 2021 meeting as was emailed out. I'll move. Second. Mr. Hagee, second. Discussion? Roll call?
Carlisle?
Yes.
Duffy?
Yes.
Hagee?
Yes.
Engel?
Yes.
Motter? Yes. That passes 5-0.
Board member updates. All board member terms expire September the 30th, 2023. JEDZ1 financial information, Mr. Matter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As always, in your packets that I distributed to you, you will come across the Park National Bank August ending statement for JEDZ1. And there was not a lot of activity. Beginning balance had $139,688.66. The only activity was a little bit of interest of $3.06.
Wow.
And that gives you an ending balance of $139,691.72. Any questions on the August statement? Hearing none, if you flip the page, you'll go to the September ending Park National Statement. Beginning balance of $139,691.72. There were 2 credits, which I believe were our distributions. Just a second. For September. Yes, that was a deposit of the 18,941.38 was the second quarter 2021 distribution. And then the balance was again a little bit of interest of $3.01. And that brings us to $158,636.11.
What was the 18.9?
I'm sorry?
The 18.9, what was that?
The 18.9 consists of the second quarter 2021 distribution. That was 18,941.
Okay.
Okay, 0.38, and the rest is the interest. Any other questions? The next statement is the October ending. And that has a beginning balance of 158,636.11. There was a credit of $3.15, which again was interest for the month. And the one debit that you'll see is of $615. That was our first payment made to the state auditor's office for the audit that is being done for the JEDZ1. So with that interest added in and the debit of $615, that brings us to an ending balance of $158,024.26. Any questions on that statement?
There was no income tax collected from September to October?
There was income tax collected, which is on your next page, but the distribution hasn't been done.
Okay.
Okay? We had our first quarter distribution done in June, and then once they get all the receipts in, then we'll do a second quarter distribution. And we'll see that on the distribution. The next page in your packet shows the income tax revenue report. And you'll see the top starts with July. And for the month of July, we collected $34,468.64. Year to date, with that was $397,664.15. There's a little bit of refund, $525.59. For a net revenue year to date of $398,189.74. For the third quarter. In August, JEDZ1 collected $75,395.16. Once again, refunds of $525.59 year to date.
Sorry.
And so our net revenue at the end of August, year to date, was $473,584.90. And if you drop down to the September figures, under the 2021 column, you have tax collected that month of $36,898.24. Year to date, $509,957.55. And again, year to date refunds of $525.59. So our net revenue for JEDZ1 year to date is $510,483.14. And if you look to the right of that net revenue for 2021 in September, the right of that is your comparison for 2020. It's amazing how they're almost identical numbers to last year. It's within 0.11%. So that's pretty much tallying up just much the way last year did. And the bottom figures show an annual tax projection. We were projecting $650,000 for 2021, and that was the same number we had used for 2020. And the tax collected year to date, again, is the $509,957 after refunds. So we've collected percentage-wise 78.46% of our projection. And again, if you look at the 2020, it's almost identical, 78.62%. So we're trending very, very, almost identical to what we did for last year. Any questions on that? This is that new format that Mr. Hall presented last month. Everything's on one page, which is really great to see, as opposed to flipping through 3 or 4 pages of reports.
Any questions?
Okay, if we don't have any questions on there, the next page in your packet is the JEDZ1 Financial Distribution Report. And the top rows up there are receipts. And you can follow again at a quick glance, quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3. So in this third quarter, there was $146,762.04 collected. Again, the year-to-date refunds are $525.59. So the balance available for distribution from the JEDZ1 is $146,236.45. And of that, as I'm dropping down, the next box is your improvements account. Your improvement account, it's 10% of that total, for a total of $18,941.38. I'm sorry, I'm looking at we're in quarter 2. $14,623.65. Prologis gives a 10% distribution out of JEDZ1. So that is $14,623.65. For a balance remaining for the remainder of the entities of $116,989.15. You carry that $116,989.15 down to the next box. You'll see the distributions for Southwest Licking County Government, Etna Township, Newark City, Newark Income Tax, and also the CTEC School District. Is there any questions on the revenues or the distributions? At the bottom of that page, before you leave that page, in the lower right-hand corner, we have an obligation still to Prologis for the infrastructure reimbursements. The original amount was $1 million. We made previous payments to date of $433,450.85. Less the current payment of $14,728.76 gives us a balance still due to Prologis of $551,820.39. That's one of the things we discussed as a board 1 or 2 meetings back, that we keep that Prologis figure to the forefront at each of our board
It seems like that question keeps coming up at about every other meeting, is how much is the balance? And I like the idea that it's in there, and that way you don't have to be asked that question. And then it also gives us a looking forward as to what their balance is.
Right. Again, it's nice and concise right on one page at a glance for everyone. Any questions on that? Okay. So, Mr. Chair, that completes the financial information portion of the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the JEDZ1 budget financial updates that Paul Rennick typically would present to us. Paul called me yesterday afternoon and said he was not going to be able to make it. He said, "Mark, I'll send you some numbers." I've not had a lot of time to really review and digest this, so maybe we'll just sort of go through them together, okay? Again, it's the last page of your packet. Everybody has that handy? So again, JEDZ1, summary of 2021 activity through October 31st of 2021. And Paul has receipts of distribution of $87,614, interest of $41, total receipts of $87,655. Below that, he lists disbursements. And under disbursements, there was legal services that totaled from 2016 through 2020 to $28,048. Insurance over the past 3 years, I guess, is $59.85. Accounting expenses of $3,000. Audit expenses of $615, which we just saw in the Park National Statement. That was our first billing from the state of Ohio for our audit that we're going through right now. Licking County for 2 years, $25,000. If I remember right, Mr. Chair, did we originally do $10,000 and then take that to $15,000?
Yes, and the reason was because we ended up into a signatory agreement with Licking County as the CIC representing Etna Township, which is then it was an additional 5,000, so it went to
Right.
15. That's correct.
Okay, so that gives us our 25,000 there. And the Etna Township paving project, we contributed 50,000 to that. So we had total disbursements of $112,648. I mean, we spent a little more than we took in over receipts of $24,993. But we had a beginning cash balance in January 1 of this year, 2021, of $183,017. We have an ending cash balance, and do all the math from the above figures, of $158,024. Looks like Paul has a footnote below that. Please note that the additional payment was made for the audit on 11/9/21, the amount of $676. Okay, that's November. This is an October ending numbers above. So we will see that $676.50 show up on our November Park National Bank statement. We meet here in another 3 months. Okay? Now, the JEDZ1 activity in what's called the city's custodial account had $568,289 as of January 2021, with total income tax receipts of another $551,248, and total disbursements and distributions of $937,918, which brings you to an ending cash balance for October 2021 of $181,619. I see as an asterisk to the right of that, which states this balance will be distributed as part of the fourth quarter distribution in early 2022. If you have any questions, we'd have to forward those on to Paul, since this is his accounting on that. He keeps in his office. So it looks pretty straightforward. The numbers seem to be added up. Anything you would like me to ask Paul? Question on that?
I like it on the cash basis, the way we're doing it. It's a lot better than the accrual.
Yeah, we had a fair amount of discussion on that last meetings, going from the GAAP accrual basis to the cash basis. For the way we operate, basically with reimbursements, I think the cash basis works best for how we do our accounting.
JEDZ1 improvement account expenditures, I have none. Public policy and record retention schedule, Mr. Alvarez.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, Mr. Albert, before you start, I made copies of everyone. Pass this out. Yourself included, if you need a copy of that.
I've got it,
All right.
thanks. As we discussed at the last meeting, my recommendation was that you go ahead and adopt the public records policy and records retention schedule. And the board authorized me to go ahead and prepare that and have it available for you to sign at this meeting. The policy that I drafted is almost identical to the one that's used for the JED districts for the township. I was asked also to look at the newer public records policy and merge relevant sections into this policy, which we have done. So this is a merger of those two policies, but is the basics of what you need to be in compliance with the law, which we think, again, even though Newark is the official keeper of the records to the extent that the zone has records, we should have a policy, and so the policy is provided to you. Is there a question about any of the provisions in the policy? If not, we would need a motion. Mr. Chairman, I brought a resolution along, motion to approve the policy as drafted.
I've read it, and it seems to comply with everything. If you look at all the public record retention policies that are written, I think you've covered all the bases, so I'll make it. Is there a second?
Did you move? Yeah, I'll second.
I think it's the right thing to do. Even though we're not required to do it, I think it's a good policy to have. If you're ever asked, or anyone's ever asked, that there is a policy in place,
Right.
and then it's not questionable.
Right, your audits, it won't be discussed.
Any further discussion?
I'll just concur with you, Mr. Chair, and I think it is a good idea that we have our own set of policies here and be accountable for that. So, Mr. Albers, thank you very much for your office for putting that together, and also for working with the city of Newark to blend those two to make sure we are in step with those. So thank you very much.
Sure, no problem.
Roll call.
Carlisle?
Yes.
Duffy?
Yes.
Havy?
Yes.
Engel?
Yes.
Mater? Yes. Passes 5-0.
Additionally, as we were reviewing the notice provisions for the JEDZs, we didn't draft the original set of bylaws for the JEDZs. We have for the JEDs, but we noticed that you're lacking a rule. You must have a rule in effect for noticing and publishing notices of meetings. And you don't have that in your bylaws. You didn't seem to have a separate rule that you'd adopted with respect to that matter. So we went ahead and drafted an amendment to your bylaws to provide that, and we've sent that out as well. If you want to take more time with that, you're welcome to do so, and it can be approved at the next meeting. But we noticed that it was lacking and it's needed, so we went ahead and drafted it, provided it. Any questions about that?
The one thing, I didn't see it in the amendment, is I believe that JEDZ1 and 2 also require that the JEDZ1 and 2 boards meet in May of every year. And I think it's in the contract, it states that.
An organizational meeting?
Yep. And I think I'm pretty sure it specifies must meet in May of every year for organization.
Okay, yeah, you're right, that should be, if that is the case, that should be added to your regular meeting provision as part of this.
But you would have to go back and look at the JEDZ1 and JEDZ2 contracts.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
check it
certain
out.
they both say you must meet
meet
for
in May.
organizational in May of every year.
Okay, I think my recommendation then would be that we don't approve this at this meeting. I'll go ahead and take a look at that and modify this if needed, and bring it back before the board at the next meeting.
But it also states, I believe, that they must meet in May of every year for organizational, and all meetings will be held at the Etna Township Hall. And I believe that's the language, the language that is written in the JEDZs.
Yeah, and we put that in, but I will track that down and make modifications and bring it back before the board at the next meeting, if that's okay with you. Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Is that all right with the board? Till the next meeting on the amendment?
I agree.
No old business, public comments? Next meeting.
Here's a great question. I normally put something on there to give some discussion on them. With it being December, I thought we might want to have a little brief discussion on that.
We typically like to do it where the quarter ends and there's 30 days after, and then we meet 30 days after for them to compile.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said December, I meant to say February.
So December would be done quarter 4. Gives
Well-
them 30 days to get the books together for a report, and then meet in February.
Yeah, with quarterly meeting, that's where we're at. With November, we have December, January, February would be our quarterly meeting. So I just misspoke there a moment ago about, I'm in so many meetings, I lose track sometimes of which ones are monthly and which ones are quarterly. So yeah, we'd be looking at a date in February, and typically we seem to be about third Friday. The third Friday in February is the 18th.
Is that all right for everybody?
What's Works well for me.
Okay.
February 18th at 1 o'clock
Okay.
at the Township Hall.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Engel moves. There a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller, second. Discussion? Roll call.
Carlisle?
Yes.
Duffy?
Yep.
Hagee?
Yeah.
Engel?
Yes.
Bonner? Yes.
1:30. Okay, we'll go into JEDZ1. It's November the 19th, 2021. We'll start this meeting at 1:30 p.m.
Mr. Chair, I'll just need a moment to hand out the agendas. I should say the packets.
Roll call.
Carlisle?
Yes. Here.
Duffy?
Yes, here.
Hagee?
Here.
Engel?
Here.
Bonner? Yes. So
Uh,
we'll be excusing Mr. Rogers and also Mr. Harkness.
Correct. And Mr. Duffy sitting as an alternate. Mr. Albers is here. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the August 27, 2021 meeting minutes as emailed.
So moved.
Single moves, there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hagee, second. Discussion? Roll call.
Carlisle?
Yes.
Duffy?
Yes.
Hagee?
Yes.
Engel?
Yes.
Bonner? Yes, that passes 5-0.
Board members' terms expire October 19th, 2022. JEDZ2 financial information. Mr. Mallard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, as always, turn the page in your packet. You'll see the August ending, 2021 for JEDZ2. And that had a beginning balance of $440,187.13. The only activity was some interest of $9.65, which brought us to an ending balance of $440,196.78. There's no questions there. I'll refer you to the next page. And that's for the September ending, or September ending balance activities. Beginning balance of $440,196.78. There were two credits totaling $133,039.62. And that was from again from the 2021 second quarter distribution. So of that 133,039.62, 133,029 again was the distribution, and that the rest, the other $10 was the interest that we accrued for the month of September. So with those two entries, it brings us to an ending balance of $573,236.40. Any questions on September statement? Hearing none. Next page is your October statement. And the October statement had a beginning balance of $573,236.40. It had a credit of $11.39 for interest. And then there was a debit or a payment out of the account of $676.50. And that was for our first payment to the State of Ohio auditor for the audit that we are going through, and that made our October payment. Other than that, there was no other activity on the account. If there aren't any comments on the North National Bank statements, I'll have you turn the page and go to the JEDZ2 income tax revenue reports. And at the top goes your July figures. We collected $269,383.78 in July. We had refunds of $3,791.57 year to date, which for a net revenue of $2,270,348.87. Moving down to August, tax collected in August for 2021 is $359,854.45. Refunds, $7,465.40 for a net revenue year to date of $2,633,877.15. And it's interesting to just kind of look to the right on the net revenue year to date for August. We have a gain over last year of $269,407.87. Or as you can see all the way to the right of that row is 11.39% increase over last year for JEDZ2. Going down to the September block, tax collected for September 2021 was $271,623.41. Interesting comparison to 2020 is actually down a little bit for September. Tax collected year to date for 2021 is $2,898,035.16. And if you compare that to last year, the $2,006,000, your next figure to the right of that is your gain. So we had a gain of about $231,364, 21 over 2020, almost a 9% increase. Refunds year to date are $7,465.40. For our net revenue year to date, 2021 is $2,905,500.56, which again is a bit over last year, about $238,829, or again about a 9% increase over last year. So Amazon appears to be doing well, even over last year with e-commerce just skyrocketed with COVID. So it's interesting to see they're increasing their volume even over last year. You know, the virus is somewhat different state forces these days. So the bottom line, everyone, the annual tax projection we had for JEDZ2, you see all the way at the bottom of your report. We projected $2,700,000, and we've collected over that. We're at $2,898,35.16, and so we're over collected by about 7%. So, bottom line, JEDZ2 is doing very, very well. It's very healthy. Any questions on that report?
I know Mr. Rennick isn't here. Do we have to adjust the budget based on that?
No.
No?
That's a great question, if I may, because I asked that same question to
Okay.
Paul yesterday. And the reason I didn't, because in last quarter's meeting, he had brought that up, that we may have to do an adjustment, but only if we expend more than we had budgeted.
Correct.
So, great question.
But not if we take it. All right.
Not on revenue.
Right. Only on expenses.
Gotcha.
If there's no other questions or comments on the revenue report, the next page will show you the JEDZ2 financial distribution report. And again, if you follow across Q3 for the third quarter, JEDZ2 had tax revenues of $900,861.64. Refunds of $7,465.40. Which left a balance from third quarter distribution of $893,396.24. Your next block of information on the third quarter column shows the improvement account, which for JEDZ2 gets a 20% distribution of that $893, which comes to $178,679.25. Below that in red, you'll see less the debt payment that services the Route 310 project that we did with the TIP. And our commitment is $37,500 there. When you deduct that payment from our gross distribution, you get a net of $141,179.25. That then leaves a balance for the joint distributions, a total of $714,716.99. And the box down below shows all those distributions. And also, as you follow that down, Southwest Licking Schools, there's their distribution amount, less their debt service payment of $11,375. Next is the Licking County government, their share of the distribution, 5%, less their debt payment, gives their net total distribution. And then the West Licking Fire District, Etna Township, Newark City, Newark Income Tax Division, and the CTEC School District. All figures are all listed there as well. And that gives you a complete accounting for our third quarter JEDZ2 distributions. Any questions, comments? You're making it way too easy. Or I'm making it way too easy.
Jeff made it too easy.
It is a really good, concise report. Really good, concise report. Now we can see everything, quarter one, quarter two, quarter three. So if we looked at their total column all the way to the right, is what we have here today for all three quarters. Mr. Chair, that's my report on that portion. Next would normally be Mr. Rennick's. Did I somehow miss getting you all a
On the back.
copy of that? Oh, it's on the back. Thank you, John. Thank you. As Mr. Albert said, on the very back page of your packet is a financial report for JEDZ2. It's a summary of 2021 activity through October 31st of this year. And it's showing distributions of $773,571, a little bit of interest of $160, total receipts of $773,731. Below that are your disbursements or expenses to JEDZ2. There's some legal services figure. There's insurance for 3 years, accounting fees, auditing fees, which is for the state of Ohio's audit we're undergoing. The contribution to West Licking CIC of $10,000, the Transportation Improvement District, TID, $400,000, Etna Township reimbursement, Etna Township dump truck costs, Etna Township mower costs, Etna Township salt and barn concrete costs. So we had total disbursements through the year of $755,203. And Candy, you had asked, I think, last meeting to get a copy of all those invoices. I sent them out to you, and Mr. Chair, you had asked that I send it out to the entire board, which I did. So hopefully everybody has a good accounting of invoices for all those expenses. Okay, on file. If you don't or didn't receive it somehow, let me know. I'm glad to get this to you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And then below that is any excess of receipts over disbursements. We did have about $18,000 of receipts more than we had in expenses. And the beginning cash balance, as you can see, in January 1 of 21 was $554,043. Our ending cash balance as of October 31st is $572,571, which is your excess plus your beginning cash balance. As always, we have our CD that we invested $500,000. And total cash and CDs as of October 31st is $1,072,571. The footnote below that figure, again, Paul noted that there'll be an additional auditing expense that hit the books in the month of November, November 9th to be exact, of about $799 there, which we'll see on next quarter's report. And then the JEDZ2 activity in the city's custodial fund had a large balance for a while there because we had some distributions that hadn't been distributed out to the city of Newark. Everybody else had received their distributions. So we began with $3,126,668. Then we had receipts of another $3,315,374. Miscellaneous receipts, 2470, and I would have to ask Paul what those miscellaneous receipts represent. But that brought us to a total of $3,317,844. Of that, distributions again are high because we had some catching up to do with the city of New York. Started was $5,194,819. Again, some miscellaneous disbursements of $839 that Paul would have to give us an accounting for total disbursements of $5,195,658. Taking all that into account, our ending cash balance on the city's custodial fund is $1,248,854. And again, the footnote below that is that balance will be distributed as part of the fourth quarter distribution in early 2022, so that number will be decreasing there.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Mallett.
You're welcome.
New business, Mr. Albers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, public records policy and records retention schedule needs to be adopted for the JEDZ2 board. Same as the one you just adopted for JEDZ1.
I'll move. Is there a second?
Second.
Single second, discussion. Same thing, John.
Okay?
The date in May.
Yes. For the amendment to the bylaws, we'll hold that to the next meeting.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, we have a motion by you and a second by Candy. Do you want to take a vote on that?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Carlisle?
Yes.
Duffy? Yes. Peggy?
Yes.
Engel?
Yes.
Mater? Yes, that passes 5-0.
And then the public records policy, the amendment to check the May
Right,
organizational thing.
right.
Public comments?
Mr. Chair, I do have an item under old business.
Okay.
If you recall, at the last meeting, we informed the board that despite everyone's best efforts, the city and elsewhere, we were unable to find a copy of the minutes for the first meeting of the JEDZ2 board held on November 5th of 2008. We suggested that we prepare substitute amended minutes for that date since they are lost and unavailable under the law. So when we do this, you use the best evidence you have of what occurred at that meeting. The best evidence we have is the agenda. We have the agenda.